Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. New Life Live is dedicated to transforming lives one at a time, thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi everybody, welcome to New Life Live, and as you heard from our announcer Terry, this is not the program for folks who are interested in life's easiest places, but life's hardest places, and boy, have we ever been through some hard times. Joining me today, Alice Benton, Dr. Alice Benton, how are you?
Hello.
Good to talk to you today. And then we've got Chris Williams here. And Chris, you're going to be presenting here June the 13th with me on the workshop. And, you know, you get the workshop, you get 4 weekly phone coaching sessions later on. Tell everybody just a piece of what you're going to be presenting. I think they know we're going to be talking about depression, but what else are we going to be talking about here that might help free somebody from something they're stuck in?
You know, pain really holds us back. But one of the things that we avoid is pain. And so one of the things we'll be talking about is how to touch the pain that we're experiencing that holds us back, but not in a way that keeps us stuck, but helps move us forward. We present very tangible things to move through it so we can find freedom from the pain on the other side and still get all of the wisdom that pain brought us along the way to help us moving forward and keep growing through our life experiences.
Amen. All right, let's go to the phones right now, and let's talk with, how about we talk with Fred, Washington, D.C., WAVA. How are you? What's going on?
I'm doing well, guys. Thank you for taking my call. This is
Sure.
actually a follow-up
Okay.
from, March 2017. I called. You guys actually gave me some sound advice. It was regarding recovering from an emotionally abusive ex-girlfriend.
Okay.
At the time, she broke up, and within 2 months later, moved out of state.
Now, can you remind
Sure.
us how or what form the emotional abuse took?
Later on, I found out from a buddy of mine that she was gaslighting me.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there's some tendency for narcissistic behavior. And
What did she do, though, that was really hard on you, that was abusive?
Basically, I have a learning disability which focuses on or is around lack of memory. I have a really hard time with memory,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
it would go right to that.
Mm-hmm.
In that sense of trying to position me in things that I actually didn't say or things that I did say but were taken out of context.
Yeah.
Overall, and this should have been a red flag, basically told me wanted no parenting advice whatsoever from the get-go.
Okay.
And that, for me, looking back, that should have been, a red flag right there. And,
Okay.
Thank you very much, and just left.
So what's the question today?
Out of the 3 years, and from there, you guys recommended a book, Boundaries, read it. From there, I went to How We Love, read it. Went to Beyond Boundaries, read it. Safe People, read it. Safe People, the new release, I'm reading that currently. And just out of the blue, she contacted me. And this has been almost 3 years to date where she moved out of state. And apologizing, almost that hindsight aspect of basically she's not having a good blueprint of a family. Her family is very dysfunctional, never saw us long term. And
Okay, hold on. We'll be back.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. We're talking with Fred. So now Fred has this abusive relationship, saying she's sorry. Fred, what kind of work has she done on her character disorder that impacted you with emotional abuse?
That's perfect. Fast track it. I haven't, in the email, which has probably been for a week now, back and forth, apologizing, but yet not really saying any work being done. And just the last email was, I've unpacked many of times. I truly miss you and sorry. I unpacked many times, but it's that but. You know, that aspect of anybody else would have done something else. So
why wouldn't you have asked her, hey, have you done anything about the way that
that's what I've done. That was my last email, and from there I haven't heard back, and I'm questioning if I should have done that or taken another approach. I asked, within the last 3 years, did you go to or have you sought out counseling, professional counseling from trauma that deal professionally with trauma, or EMDR, licensed therapist? Because otherwise I have a feeling that you're going to experience the same thing in life that you don't want anymore.
Okay,
right?
And so when you did that, then the kind of the back and forth stopped, and she hasn't replied yet, right?
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm second guessing myself. Should I have been more of a friend and tried to gain the confidence and then approach it? Or
well, rather than me answer that, I'll just let Chris and Alice give you their take on whether or not you should have been more of a friend, whether or not you did the right thing. I'll just let them throw out their wisdom to you. What do you guys think?
Fred, I think a good friend does exactly what you did.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you read all these books over this time, you have been working on what happened in this relationship and how to become a man of even greater character with all the work you've done on yourself. That question brings some truth and some light into the situation. Her lack of response must have been startling and, of course, makes you second guess yourself. But her lack of response may be revealing of what the true answer is. Sorry, but is not a sign of deep understanding of what she did and true regret and repentance of turning around and becoming someone different and better because of the mistakes that she made. You asked a good, loving question of her. How are you feeling with what I'm saying? I think I hear some emotion.
Yeah.
What are you feeling, Fred?
You're spot on. Just emotional. Still connected, and I still care for her. Yet, I know it's not healthy to even go down there, or visit or anything. And I mentioned in the email that she did something that I could not do, which was to end an unhealthy relationship. Because she ended and moved. And that's something I couldn't do because I was avoiding it. I was thinking the next day would be better, and the next day never came.
So, Fred, I have a couple really important questions for you. Because this is where you're finding yourself stuck, is that you're not trusting something in you. When it comes to relationship, what do you know that you know that you know?
I'm a good guy.
Okay, just stay there.
Yeah,
just stay there. You're a good guy. Now, what do you need?
To be needed. And I don't know if that comes across right. I mean, it's maybe because in the previous relationship, I wasn't needed, period.
Okay, so you have a resource at your hand that I want you to go back to and look at and kind of review, and that is going back to How We Love and looking at the avoider style there. It's going to give you a lot of hints. Now, I want you to do deeper work around this. Because your need to be needed is a need inside of you that is unmet. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I know where that comes from, but go.
Yeah, I want you to identify what is that need, and then how do I get that met in a healthy manner?
Sure.
And I want
just to be heard.
Okay, good. Where I want you to go in that direction, because there's some things inside of you that are unsaid, and therefore they're unheard and need to be said and need to be heard. I want you around safe men in your life to work that out. In people who have no interest in taking it further in a romantic way, so that way you're able to walk through that in a safe way and begin to heal from that, and then your eyes become more clear on what you do and don't want in a romantic relationship.
And
Very good.
you know what my best advice for you is, Fred, that you would end the email relationship with her, and that you would do it this way. Let's say her name is Shirley. You would say, Shirley, I'm so glad that you contacted me and that I heard from you that you really feel badly about the way things happened, because I've cared for you a lot. It seems to me when I ask you if you had gotten any help, you stopped communicating on a regular basis. I have done so many things since our relationship ended, so many books read, so many people talked to. I'm going to hope that for you. And if you get some help and make some changes, there's so much good about you. I'd love for you to get back in touch in 6 months.
Yeah, thanks.
And then you get with those guys that Chris is talking about. And it might just be you've got a male therapist is all that you have right now, but you got to get those guys in Bible study, something like that. But you have to let her go, because people like her, they have a sixth sense, and they know kind of what gets you and hooks you and stuff, and she's not safe for you at this point. Or you would have gotten an email immediately talking about it might not even have been much, but it'd have been something. Oh, yeah, I did this and that, and she didn't do that. In fact, she didn't even respond to you. So I really believe that being sorry is different than being so repentant that I do something to change to make sure I never do it again.
Fred,
Thank you.
Fred, my guess is that this is complicated by her possibly having a child, that you had a role with that child as well. So if that's the case, not only did you lose her, but you lost relationship with that child, and they both needed you and fulfilled that need you talked about with Chris. And so as you find those safe men Chris was talking about, if that's correct, you got to talk about the loss, what you have lost by not having relationship with her and her child.
All right. I'm really glad that you called. I'm going to send you a copy of Every Man, God's Man. It's all the positive stuff about being a man, and I really feel like that's where you are, and that's what you're moving toward. Let's go to Eddie, New York City. Online is where he listens. Eddie, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good. What's going on?
Well, was recommended by a cousin of mine who's a supporter that I call in. Admittedly, I've only recently started listening to your show within the past few months, and I've been in really poor health for about the past dozen years. And this started when I had some physical trauma. I had some really significant hand injuries on the job, as well as some injuries from an auto accident.
Okay.
And then I lost a lot of my strength, and I had to move back in with my parents. And my health has waxed and waned over the years. And for about the past year, it's been really bad, to the point where I've only been out of bed for about 10 minutes at a time, and then I'd have to recover for about an hour. And I'm at the point now where I might actually have to go into the hospital just because I'm getting too weak to take care of myself. And
Eddie.
my doctor thinks that this is perhaps very likely a psychological issue. And I've read various books about psychologically induced physical issues. And I've tried various techniques, and nothing's really worked for me. I had just started doing EMDR prior to my health failing again, and I wasn't able to continue it. I think that might have held some promise. I don't know what options I have. I was in contact with a therapist recently, and he said, well, as far as the outpatient clinics around here, I'm not going to be able to get any help for at least a few months because of the COVID outbreak. I've tried contacting hospitals that have programs dealing with this sort of thing, such as Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic, and just because of my insurance, that's not an issue. And I really don't know what my options are, and I'm wondering if you can comment on this.
What do you guys think? What do you think are some options? I've got a couple I want to mention too.
Yeah, my first response to that, Eddie, is you're heading in the right direction. You've come up against this incredible obstacle that has been COVID-19 that has restricted access. But I think in light of your current physical condition, that I would recommend EMDR. Again, looking at the options that if you have accessibility to the Cleveland Clinic, Mayo Clinic, I mean, these are the best of the best. And so,
can he do that from his home over a Zoom call or something?
I'm sorry. Let me just interrupt. No, I had checked those places out as places that have programs that would be appropriate, but they're not accessible because of my insurance.
Because of your insurance. Okay, yeah. So if you go through your insurance panel, they should be able to provide you with a list of therapists in your area, including ones who specialize in EMDR. It may just take a bit of a research and some consultation, seeing if these therapists will do, a 15-minute consultation to see if they're a good fit for you, and you're a good fit for them. But EMDR, again, based on your physical limitations, seems like the best option here.
Okay. Have you guys ever encountered anything like this, where somebody, as a result of psychological problems, just loses all their strength? It's extremely difficult for me to put strength on, and it seems once I've acquired a little bit, if I encounter a particularly stressful situation in my life, it just goes in a matter of days.
Yeah. Well,
Alice, you can comment on that.
There's definitely a great deal of evidence and treatment for psychosomatic issues, just what you're talking about. Your case sounds very severe, and that you've been dealing with this for 12 years. Eddie, I'm terribly impressed with just the strength that I hear in your voice and the fact that you're persevering and that you are looking for this help. There are some clinicians who will do EMDR through remote therapy, through video conferencing. You got to look hard to find it, but yes, there are some who will do that.
And, if I were in your situation, I would tell myself that I have a psychological or psychologically induced problem. I'd be telling myself that. I'd try to convince myself. I wouldn't question. I'd say, I think this guy's right. Okay. So what could I do to fix the brain that has gotten me in this really a paralysis where any kind of stress just shuts me down? And then I would put together a little program for myself, I would be calling my insurance company and I would be saying, I'm going to these health bills and stuff for all these years, but if you can get me the kind of help I need, I can return to work and be a contributing guy. I would find some of these books on the brain where they talk about a way of thinking that's very different than the way you're thinking, because our thoughts many times can become a new foundation for the way we feel about ourselves. Also, I would be in scripture. I'd take a principle, I'd meditate on that, trying to just saturate my brain with God's truth. I'd spend, well, I'll give you a couple other ideas of how to reprogram.
Divorce shattered my family. I was very confused about my feelings, which are guilt, shame, and anger.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. I'm just wondering if you're feeling stuck and you're hiding behind a mask, or maybe you're ignoring some pain and you're just not wanting anybody to see the real you. Well, Chris Williams and I are going to be doing the Finding Freedom Workshop. It's a great place to discover how to live a life of freedom, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You'll learn how to overcome your painful past and recognize the habits and behaviors that can lead you to the life God intended. It's time to get free from the rut you're in and experience transformation in your life.
Join Steve Arterburn and Chris Williams for the New Life Finding Freedom online workshop Saturday, June 13th. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
You guys are awesome. You're a blessing to America.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in the biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step toward genuine spiritual and emotional healing, please call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433.
We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Eddie, another thing I'm going to suggest for you is I'm going to send you Healing as a Choice, and there is an affirmation in there, and I challenge people, and I've had so many people say, I ask you to read this thing, and for you, I would read it 3 times a day. It's in the back. It's about 3 pages long, and it is so healing, and I've had so many people get in touch with me to say that really changed the way I thought about myself, felt about each day. That's part of the reprogramming. The fellowship of other men. Okay, we've got COVID virus still. So let's do some online stuff. Get into a support group. Recover from something. And I'm going to send you this Life Recovery Bible along with the 12-step workbook, and just go to work on that because it gets you looking at stuff inside. Join us at 5 o'clock Eastern for our Growing Deeper. We're looking at weight loss right now, but when we talk about lose it for life, we're looking at the stuff on the inside, not trying to start by losing weight on the outside. I would just be programming my brain. I would be saturating it with healthy relationship, good biblical truth, moments with God, whatever I can do in my prayer life. If it's 1 minute, then make it the best 1 minute ever, and then just have another 1 minute an hour later. But I really think, because it is your mind, you might think, oh, there's not a treatment for this, there's not a prescription. You become the treatment for it. You may not be able to get out of bed, but sitting in bed, you can read, you can listen, you can learn, and you can still connect, and you can find somebody that'll help you and encourage you along the way. Alice, you have a comment before we move on?
I do. I'm thinking about the Bible saying that jealousy rots the bones. And we know as well that unforgiveness and bitterness can make us physically sick. Now, in a way, I have no place to say this to you, Eddie, but because I want more freedom and more healing for you, I'd have you do a spiritual evaluation, because how could you not be angry with what has happened to you when you had a job, you were working hard, and so much has been snatched away from you. So it would only be human to feel any of these things, but to prayerfully consider them, to share them with a trusted person in your life, and to release as much as you can to God may make a difference in your physical state.
Alice, to your point, here I am doing this weight loss thing. I did a whole session on forgiveness because the weight of bitterness and resentment is so heavy, and it leads to more weight. But really, we're just trying to think of anything we can to help you change the thoughts and the truth, the story underneath the feelings. That's what we're trying to do here. Let's go over to Jan, calling from St. Paul, Minnesota. Internet is where she listens. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure. What's going on?
The last two callers, I think everything you said applies to me during this self-quarantining of myself. I've done a lot of soul searching, and I am very emotional when someone of the family tries to say what they think is best for me.
Yeah.
I become very emotional. I become very angry if any Christian people are giving me religious platitudes, and there just doesn't seem to have been real reconciliation of a past issue, but things are so much better, and it's almost back to normal, except we just kind of picked up where we left off as if nothing had happened, and yet it has caused me to not even be able to physically walk anymore.
You're not able to walk.
Right. Stand up, take steps, and they want to replace 2 knees and a hip, and I want to do anything but surgery. So I don't know where you can tell me to start, but I've started with asking God, what do you want to change in me?
Now, let me ask you this. Is the reason that these bones and joints are a problem, is there a weight problem here? Is that part of it?
Well, it's arthritis and degeneration.
But no weight
all of that,
problem.
as well as carrying extra pounds, yes.
Okay. All right.
Jan, you ask such a brave and risky question of God. What do you want to change in me? And I thought I heard some tears in your voice as you said that. That is brave, sister. And I'm also curious. I hear that reconciliation was pushed too quickly in a relationship, and you two are acting as if nothing had happened, but I think you're still feeling the pain. Would you tell us what had happened in that relationship before that injured you, emotionally injured you?
Well, I had made a promise to do something financially, and didn't have the finances to do it, so I had to renege.
And how did they react?
Angry.
And
like
do you think that has something to do with draining some of that energy out of you, that now you can't stand up and walk, or is that a totally different issue for you? What do you think?
I think it has something to do with, I went to pain management, I've been to every surgeon, I've been, done everything medically. I just think there's a connection.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. All right, I think we're on the right track with you. Hold on, we'll give you some more help right after this. You're listening to New Life Live. You could join us for Finding Freedom online, something I'm hoping that Jan can do. I'm hoping our previous caller could do this. There may be just that one nugget that you hear and you go, okay, that is what I needed to hear. Finding Freedom, call us 1-800-NEW-LIFE and join us. We'll be back right after this for more New Life.
For For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for 30 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again. You seem to be able to get to the crux of a problem quickly.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for you and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow right now. Just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. 1-800-639-5433.
We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back. Well, Jan, I hope something we've said here is important to you, that it might benefit you. I don't want to shame you anyway. I think somebody has really been using you. I do think when you start to work on the weight, I hope you'll join me at 5 o'clock and on Facebook Live. If there's no way, then you just go to the website or call us. We'll try to get the tapes there. I'm going to send you the book. I think that can be so much at the heart of all of this going on. I feel so badly for you. You've got the pains, you've got surgeries, you've got the weight, and you've got a person that just sees you as a financial source. They've kind of used you. And Chris, you were talking about this rescuer role. What are you talking about there?
Yeah, a lot of times when we take care of other people, and this comes from oftentimes a really good place, but we see other people's pain, we're pained by their pain, and we want to rescue them out of that over and over and over again. But what happens is we end up draining ourselves. And then we set ourselves as a position is that I don't need anything, but I'll meet all your needs. But we as human beings have a lot of needs. So Jan, you're sitting with a lot of needs, and it doesn't sound like the pain that you're carrying is that you're there for everyone else, but no one is there for you. Does that resonate?
Yeah.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah.
But my response to people, I think that's what I need help with. I'm actually doing the grieving workbook right now. And I have the Lose It for Life workbook, too. And I just really want to know how to respond to people, I think, especially religious people that give me the religious attitudes.
Yeah.
Jana, I wonder if it's hard for you to be able to give people an honest no. And if you stretch yourself too thin in what you say yes to just because people ask, or if you also feel obligated to listen to other people's unsolicited advice that they give you, no matter what. Because if we're in that position, it's of course anger and resentment builds up over time because we're stretched too thin and we hear so much of what we're not capable of taking in at the time. So I also want you to involve boundaries in that good grief work that you're doing, because as your no strengthens, and you can stop a person to say, I'm sorry, I just can't hear any advice right now, so would you stop giving me advice? or being able to say no to some people's requests when you can't give a generous, fully free yes. I think you'll find that that will help resolve some of your anger and keep you from positions where you're stretched too thin.
Also, I think just to quote Jesus, while these people were nailing him to the cross, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. If you could just kind of keep that in your mind, knowing, this person they mean well, and they have no idea how hurtful or inappropriate or superficial that is. Chris, you have a final word here?
Just a final word, and that is, when people don't know your needs, they're going to guess your needs, and they're going to guess wrong most of the time. The hard work that we have as human beings is to let our needs be known. That means we have to connect to what they are and then let other people know how they can help us.
All right. Well, since you have the grief workbook and you have the Lose It for Life, I won't send that to you. I will send you an eating disorder workbook. It's different than the grief workbook. I'll send the eating disorder workbook. You've already got the Bible there. And then I'm going to send you Take Your Life Back, because it's so powerful in getting this kind of stuff under control. So hang on, and I just hope and pray that you will not give up on God, because I guarantee you God is not giving up on you and you finding the people that can help you and support you. Let's go to Judy. She's calling from Manchester, New Hampshire. She listens online. Judy, how are you today?
Hi, good. How are you?
Good. What's going on?
Okay, I want to try to make this pointed. I'm with somebody that I have been with for 6 years. We met in church. We were all smiles, delightful, and everybody who knows him seems to know only this. He's had a lifetime loss of license. He's now 57. It's difficult for him to get employment. The last 5 years he's been living in an unoccupied house of a friend. Some anger, control, and lack of empathy began to emerge about a month in.
Mm-hmm.
And I just got drawn into defending my position because he had presented so normally that I never thought it could be any kind of mental illness.
How old are you? How old are you?
I'm 51, almost 52.
52, and you've been in a romantic relationship with him for 6 years?
Yes.
Okay. Why? Why is that?
Well, we've been trying to move toward marriage, and we both have had some failed marriages, so we were trying to make sure that we're getting this right.
Okay. What's the question for us?
Okay, so I had sustained physical, emotional, and verbal abuse for the first 1.5 years. He ended up in a batterers program, and then PTSD started happening in me. So I started kind of attacking him verbally and even physically at times. He's not understanding that. I've asked him to stop pointing angrily. He'll say, that's how I talk. I got your book about borderline personality disorder. I also got the PTSD one.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't even opened the PTSD one yet, but from what I'm reading in this borderline book, it's sounding an awful lot like what I've been going through. Now, it's saying I have hope, and that's great. I mean, I've been really trying to trust God. I've seen miracles. I absolutely have already in this. But, there's certainly room for me to be more empathetic and loving, but, I don't want to be controlled in everything I think, say, and do for the rest of my life. Is it reasonable to expect him to trust me at some point and just be comfortable with me?
No.
No.
That's not reasonable.
Hard no.
We tried to beat each other saying that to you. How does that?
Okay.
How does that register with you? We both had that on the tip of our tongue, ready to say it. No, you should not. And just tell me what it was. Here you were, 45, 46 years old, and you ended up in this abusive relationship with a single man. Why did you hang in there in the very beginning of the relationship?
Because we also had intense feelings of love for one another. We met in church. We both, I believe, loved God in a very similar way, very passionately.
Mm-hmm.
And we were in kind of like a charismatic portion of our church. So we understood each other from that respect.
So Judy,
we do still share a lot of love together.
Judy, let me jump in here. My guess is that you grew up in a pretty chaotic environment, and that love had become an emotion, but love was expressed as intensity. But
is that true? He's made an assumption here. Is that true?
No, I don't believe so. I had a quiet home. I had my mother and father. My mother was usually just kind of preparing meals, and my dad was outside. And then by the time I got to be about 10, he drank. So it was quiet. Certainly the hostility that might have ensued at times was not related to love. It was related to alcohol.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
Judy, though, even in what you're describing, you say it's a quiet home, but then you talk about alcoholism and hostility. That's a confusing
Doesn't make
answer,
sense to me.
And I bet it was confusing growing up in your home. That even perhaps the hostility was quiet or was underhanded or was subtle, but I think I think Chris is onto something. I think it was definitely there.
Well, what happens, though, is what I'm getting at, Judy, is that we mistake intensity for actual love. But again, let's go to some definitions here. Love is patient, love is kind. Does not envy, does not boast, is not rude, is not proud, is not easily angered, does not keep records of wrongs, is not self-seeking, and does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. So patience and kindness typically aren't equated with intensity. Do you get what I'm saying there? And so there was this magnetic pull that you guys had that most likely was around your pain. We call that a trauma bond. And that you guys got together in your pain and felt comfortable in your pain, but then your pain showed up against each other in the relationship and created a lot of abuse and more pain. So you have 6 years of experience, and what I want you to do is adjust your expectations to the actual experience that you've had over 6 years. Because if you expect it to be different, I believe you're going to be very sorely disappointed, and more importantly, continue to be in a dangerous situation.
You probably feel trapped by the investment that you've made in this relationship, that this would be very hard to pull away from.
And it's always hard to pull away from an angry person or someone where you've experienced that anger, and you always have this pleaser down below thing. I got to please this person or I may trigger this anger. We'll be back.
Divorce shattered my family. I was very confused about my feelings, which are guilt, shame, and anger.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. I'm just wondering if you're feeling stuck and you're hiding behind a mask, or maybe you're ignoring some pain and you're just not wanting anybody to see the real you. Well, Chris Williams and I are going to be doing the Finding Freedom Workshop. It's a great place to discover how to live a life of freedom, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You'll learn how to overcome your painful past and recognize the habits and behaviors that can lead you to the life God intended. It's time to get free from the rut you're in and experience transformation in your life.
Join Steve Arterburn and Chris Williams for the New Life Finding Freedom online workshop Saturday, June 13th. To register or to find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
I was really living a very anxiety-filled life. I turned on New Life, and the topic that day was about anxiety. And just by listening, I got relief.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the Transformation Welcome Gift, which includes a personal-sized Life Recovery Bible, a Life Recovery Journal, and 5 Life Recovery Workbooks. Plus, there are ongoing benefits like access to the Club New Life video library, the monthly Club New Life CD or download, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, and discounts on workshops.
I did go to Take Your Life Back. That's been immensely helpful to me. That's why I continue to support the ministry with the hope that not only am I helping my own situation, that I'm helping others as well.
Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back talking here with Judy and Alice. What's your best here for Judy? I really care about her. I'm so glad she called us. What are you thinking?
Judy, if you want more of the same, where you're bringing out some of the worst in each other, stay in this relationship. And I'm sorry to say, I think that will continue to happen. I was thinking about the definition of love and about how love is, it's really not a feeling, because it's decisions, and it's self-sacrificing for the good of other people. That's what love is. So that we continue that behavior even when the emotional feelings of attraction are no longer there, or go away for a time and come back, because the emotions and feelings of love don't always stay. And I wonder if your investment in this relationship keeps you in it despite the suffering you're both going through. And I'm going to take a risk here. I imagine there's a sexual element to it as well. And that passion and that feeling of love may really be experienced in the sexual aspect of your relationship. Is that right?
We try not to engage in that. And
then the answer is yes on that. Yeah.
Yes,
so,
and
yeah.
I have to say that I've definitely noticed that he's not judgmental at that point. He's not hostile, and all of these anxieties that are presenting to him during the day, when they're not there, I feel like we're able to connect.
We call that sexual addiction in our world.
I noticed
we
it
also
outside of marriage, but in a marriage,
we
that needs to be unitive.
Yeah, but we also can call that manipulation too. And Judy, I'm just going to pray that you somehow could get out of a sexually intimate relationship with him. You could connect with some women that could support you in that you could see the reality of this. Not because he's the worst person in the world. He may not be Mr. Wrong, but he's certainly Mr. Not Right Now. But the years, it's not a clock that's ticking. The calendar the pages keep turning. And if you had called this last year before that, we would have said, I think you might want to move on. Alice has tapped into this thing about the more we invest in someone, the more difficult it is to move on. And I just think you need the courage of some support there. But the other option is, if you stay, he needs to be in a lot of contact with healthy men, a sexual addiction group or an Every Men's Battle group. And I wish both of you could join us for Finding Freedom. We would help you immensely in this. So I'm glad you called. I'm really glad that you called. But it's painful to see that you've been in this for 6 years. All right. Before we go to a final caller, I want to talk to Larry Sonnenberg. Larry, share with us how we're doing, what we need here.
I'll try to be quick. 4 sentences from a testimony. I always feel such hurt for the people who call into your program. Never knew that someday I'd need you. I've been able to get my husband to go with me to one of your counselors. It's made all the difference in my life.
Wow, great.
And I love that. We're making a difference. And God's making a difference by these folks getting good godly counsel. So if you can support something like that, would you help us? We have a matching gift, and as we have been talking before, it's not just doubling your money. You put in whatever amount, 5, 10, 15, 100, whatever dollars. We'll take that much from the fund, and your money will be doubled. But we're also going to double the effectiveness in how many people we reach. Every person that gets a life change will probably get 2 because you chose to give. So help us. Call us 800-NEW-LIFE. Go online to newlife.com. And thank you, everybody who has been giving to this.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. Help us, as we're saying. Twice as many lives help with the same level of giving. Please help us if you can. This is not an easy time, and a lot of people need help. We want to be there for them. My final caller, sorry I couldn't get to everyone. It's Maria, Dallas, Texas, KWRD. Hi, Maria. How are you today, and how could we help you?
Hello. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Sure.
I really appreciate y'all being there. I have a problem with my grandkids, and I'm hoping you can help me out with some behavior here. My granddaughter is 14, and her brother is 12. I'm helping my son take care of them because he's been divorced from their mother since they were 2 and 4. So for the last 10 years, they've had 50-50 custody of them.
Okay.
And my granddaughter lies impulsively. She lies about a lot of things, and she yells and screams instead of speaking in a normal tone of voice, that would be appropriate for being indoors. And I want to know, is this lying impulsively, she'll do it because she wants to belong or have people like her. Like she might walk up to a group of people who are talking about where they went recently on vacation or whatever, and somebody will say, well, I went to Paris, France with my parents for the summer, and just say, oh, I did that too. We went last year. That's just an example. And it's like she'll get herself into lots of trouble for telling lots of lies. And then the yelling and like she's just so angry. And but now,
let us give you some help here.
Know is just real quick. Let me ask you this: the question that's uppermost in my mind, if you will, please. Okay, so I want to know: is that telling the lies like that impulsively, and having trouble concentrating and focusing, although she's very intelligent, is that a symptom of ADD or ADHD? And the yelling, could that be learned behavior from her mother, who has a borderline personality disorder?
Alice, what are you thinking here when you hear about a girl this out of control at age 14?
I wouldn't necessarily label it ADHD. I'd wonder more about it stemming from all the hurt and the abandonment and the loss that she's been through.
Yeah, and there's more. There's been a lot of that. And
but look, here's the thing, Maria. Whether it was
been abandoned by
whether it was ADD related or not, it's unacceptable. And there are so many people that have attention deficit disorder or ADHD. They don't lie compulsively. They don't yell at adults. They're respectful. So we've got a character issue here that has to be dealt with. So, Alice, Chris, what do you think's the best path if all the best things in the world could happen? What would happen here in this case?
Yeah, I think she's showing all the signs of trauma, because lying. So lying is a byproduct of shame. She finds something unacceptable about herself and her experience, and then she has this trapped hurt that just expresses itself, as Steve was saying, in very unhealthy, dangerous ways. She needs to get into some really good counseling that really understands childhood trauma and how that, and I would recommend that your son and yourself as well join her in that process.
And in there...
Okay, now there's a problem here with the mother, because the mother is taking her to a counselor to have her put on medication for ADHD.
That doesn't have to be a problem. I wouldn't even fight that. I would just let that happen, and then you guys continue to do what you're doing. You'll lose that battle with the mother doing that, but that's not going to be medication that's going to mess her up, is what I would say. She's still going to have to deal with all these other issues. Alice, your thought there?
Well, if the adults can take responsibility for how much of the pain they have allowed or caused her, invite her anger in a healthy, respectful way, but also put limits on the unhealthy behavior and let her know what the consequences will be if she continues to act out.
Okay. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. If you need some help, join me, Going Deeper, 5 o'clock Eastern Time on Facebook Live.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, Steve Arterburn here. Thanks for watching New Life Live on our New Life YouTube channel. You know, you can see it anytime. Hope you'll subscribe, and when you do, hope you'll turn that little button thing on, the bell, so that whenever we post a new video, it'll ring right through. Now, if you go to newlife.com, you'll see the schedule of when we're in the studio, which is helpful to know if you have a question for the program, or you could go to newlife.com or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You could do this on the app. I mean, there's so many ways that you can stay in touch with us and know when we're there, because we want to answer your questions. So thanks for watching right here on the New Life YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time. Click here to subscribe.